Yo, what's up, pepperonis? Today I'm going to be going through two trades. Both I exited way too early, but it's okay, I guess. We still made money. I'm not going to be complaining. The first trade we did on paper trading, and then this second trade we did on the account. I'm going to be going through how we got in the trades and how we got to take profit. Here is a video of me doing this second trade live. Okay, let's run through this first trade. Let's run into replay to the end of that session to see what's been going on until we got to this point. We can see that our secret profile during our accumulation closed below our London profile, so the expectation of our bias is now bearish. We're going to be waiting for a higher time frame wick gap to explain some narrative. We can see we have a higher time frame wick right here. We can see we have one below. Now let's draw out some dojis. We have one over here. We have a doji right there. And then we have this little consolidation of dojis just above. That's my main resistance for that current range that we're in right now. Right here. Okay. I'm going to be looking for a 1 minute now. Get into this, see what the market's doing, where it's reacting. Because we have these 1 minutes right here in the middle of the range. And then we have these wicks just below. We've got our fortification for the current accumulation that we have. Let's see what price is going to do while it's playing through this. We broke below that range, so now we have a confirmation that we have a breakout for sells. Let's see if we have a retest. We have a retest of that low of that accumulation right here with a close below. I believe this could have been an entry. So let's run that as the first one. I don't think this was mine at the start, but it's close enough. Have our standard deviation. Stop loss at 18.6, take profit, add standard deviation 2. Once we get to standard deviation 1, I'm going to be looking to go break even, and then we're going to run it to take profit. Run to break even. Here we are pulling back into that higher time frame wick gap for the 15 minute. That was below the range. Let's see if we reject off of that. I believe this was my entry. There we have the rejection. There we go. We're now currently in our next trading session, which will be our 9 o'clock to 9:22 accumulation. We can see our secret profile took out London profile. So the bias initially was bearish. We did create a larger move than usual. As we can see, most secret profiles are tinier. So this was a bit larger than usual. So we could expect some sort of reversal back up to this London profile. Let's look at our higher time frame and see where we could have reacted off of. We have our end of our accumulation right now. If we just look left, we could see we have a massive wick gap right here. We have another right there, engulfing these two. So not necessary to pull this entire one. And then we have one just below. I know we're pulling a lot right now, but this is just showing where we're going to get the most resistance for our trade. And then we have this one created inside of New York PM profile. Let's see if we look left. Do we find any more dojis? No, we just have this one from inside. I think that's all we're going to look at right now. Go back to our 1 minute, see what we saw. I did not look for SMT this trade, so I'm not going to go through that at the moment, but I'm just going to go through what price action did currently on ES. Let's play price through. We're currently rejecting off of this 1 minute wick gap that we created just below. I believe we're heading for the low now. I think we're going to get a close. Yeah, we did. We got our first breakout at around 9:29, just before market open. We did not enter on the sell, as we're going to need to have price. Let's see if we found a doji. I think I found that low. Oh, no, sorry. It was this high right here because we retested it to go higher. So I was using this wick gap as my break and retest. This was my low 1 minute support for that current range. Right here, we needed price to pull back and have a clear rejection for us to continue selling. So let's wait if price is going to do that. Right now, we're pulling into that 15-minute wick gap we created on the higher time frame. I remember price can reverse from 1.5 standard deviation. So if we do not get an entry for our continuation, price is most probably just reversing. We are rejecting off of that higher time frame 15-minute wick gap. We closed above our fortification on the 1 minute. Now what we're going to need is some price to react back into that 1 minute, and then we can displace out of that. We can see this next candle gave us a breakout, so we didn't get that retouch. We're going to wait for some reaction off of a fortification level. I then looked left and saw that we had these wicks right here before we took this low, so I drew that out. What I want price to do now is retest back into that 1 minute for fortification at the top of the range, and then give us some displacement out, closing higher. Okay, we took the top of that range. We have a 1 minute wick gap right at the top. We're pulling back into the range. Let's see if we displace higher. We did. I think I got into this trade because this body closed pretty much at the top of that candle. We could have waited higher or for our next candle for more confirmation, but I was pretty sure we're going to go higher from here as this previous secret session pulled down a lot. So we're probably going to have to fill up a bigger gap to the left. So let's enter for some buys. On this trade, you could put your stops at 18 ticks, which would be logical, but because I'm trading on a broker and not on TradingView itself, I placed my stops at 20 ticks to give some room if we're going to have some spread or some extra play on that account, which actually helped out a lot specifically for this trade. We can have our standard deviation at 2. I ran mine to around just above the 1. I will go through why, and then we can see if price goes to the main TP or not. Here we can see price still not closing higher than that wick gap that is above. So we do not necessarily have a clear indication that we want to go higher as of price is not showing that. But we're still rejecting off of this, I believe, 15-minute wick that I drew down here as my support for reaction if we're going to pull back in. So I still had that in the back of my mind, hoping that if we're not going to take this stop loss, we're still probably going to react off of a higher time frame wick gap. We also still have this 1 minute above our session that we could use as a fortification. Also at the top of that range, we had this doji right here the price tapped into. So if we're going to displace higher off of that, that's already giving me confirmation that we're buying. This would be a good entry for a buy, as we had our break into the zone that we created from 9 o'clock to 9:22, and then we had a displacement higher. But if you want to wait for a candle body above that high, just to be sure, you could do that as well. Here we have candle bodies higher than all previous, so this would be a good re-entry with your stops below that for 18 ticks. The retest of that current top fortification we displaced higher, so that was more confirmation that the trade is still holding. We created this massive wick at standard deviation 1, and the same as yesterday's trade recap, we had a wick gap creation at standard deviation 1 that was retested later on for a close higher, where price continued. So we can have this as a re-entry for our trade if price does displace higher than that. This is where I started getting uneasy on the trade. We started pulling back in, and as I said, we could have reversals from 1.5 standard deviation. I was more unsure about how large our range would be that we could create from this New York AM profile due to the previous profile being this large. But I obviously could have had, I did have my stops at break even at this point, so it was super close to taking my stop loss anyways. But you could have definitely kept your stops below this wick gap that we created right here. I want you guys to keep an eye on that one. Price just displaced higher to that wick gap at the top. So if we're going to get a retest of this range, we could continue buying. I believe this next candle is going to do something really cool that I want you guys to take a look at. It tapped into that 1 minute wick gap that we had for a rejection from that top of that range. So this is a really good fortification level. Okay. If we reject off of that, also a 1 standard deviation continuation. Let's see how that plays. Here we have a buying opportunity again. Stops at 18 ticks. And then you can play it higher if you want to continue that take profit to at least 4. Which would be the best option if you're going to re-enter on a trade above the standard deviation, is to continue that trade to at least 4. Remember earlier I said we need to take a look at this wick gap that was created at 1 standard deviation. Let's see how price reacts after we closed above it. Do we pull back into it? Do we react from it? What happens? We had a candle pull in and reject off of that, giving us confirmation to go higher. We did the same thing on that next candle again, pulled back into that 1 minute wick gap from that 1 standard deviation and went higher. Okay, we fully took our take profit now for this current trade that we had at the bottom. Let's see how price plays out from that continuation of standard deviation 1 to our standard deviation 4. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys have any questions about this model, I will leave the owner of this model's Discord in the description down below. I will leave my Discord as well, so you guys can come and talk to me. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys very soon.